Namaskar and a very warm welcome to the show. I am Neha Tripathi. This is a glass full of water. Actually, hydropower. Hydropower is one of the oldest power sources on the planet, generating power when flowing water spins a wheel or turbine. It is actually the energy generated using the energy of moving water. Harnessing the power of water is the cheapest form of energy, but environmental and other concerns cast doubts on its worth. All this sounds very simple, but it is actually not that simple. To make it simple, here in studio we have with us Dr. Arun Kumar. He is associated with Alternate Hydro Energy Center in IIT Roorkee from its inception and has been the head for 14 years. He is a well-known professional for small hydropower and environmental management of rivers and lakes. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. And we have with us Mr. Ashwini Kumar Goyal, who is an entrepreneur. He has installed 3 hydropower plants. That means he has harnessed the power of water by himself. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
We would discuss more about this. First of all, let's begin it with Arunji. Arunji, the best thing is that you have been associated with this hydropower thing since last so many years. Long innings with this hydropower. How do you see this power of water? How do you see it?
As you already mentioned very clearly, that hydropower is one of the oldest way of using the natural energy which is available from flowing water from higher elevation to the lower elevation.
Ji.
And in fact, it is being used for earlier to run the machines or lift the water, and textile world over, even industrialization happened around this energy. In India also we had this energy since 1897, so it's almost 122-year-old. Mm-hmm. In fact, this is energy which is indigenous, available almost everywhere, more in Himalayas because of the hills areas and lesser in the plain areas. Even areas like Bihar and Rajasthan, there are canals, and those canal falls, this energy is available. Mm-hmm. One of the largest projects in the beginning, like Bhakra Dam, Mahanadi, and etc. There have been good projects on this project. Mm-hmm. And in fact, those days projects generating electricity was not being utilized for that region. Mm-hmm. There was some new factories like National Fertilizer Plant was installed near Nangal. Uh-huh. But over the year, when we got thermal energy, and especially country being coal rich, mm-hmm. we started going for a larger scale of thermal applications. Mm-hmm. And gas, though it's not much, nuclear, though it's not much, but this kind of energy has started playing a big role in India. Okay. One of the problem with the hydropower, which was almost 60% or 50% in the beginning, mm-hmm. suddenly falling back, the reason that it takes time. Okay. To develop a hydropower plant, it takes time because you need to investigate what kind of flows of water available in the rivers, what kind of topography it is, how geological stable it is, what mm-hmm. kind of land requirement you have, mm-hmm. and how the transmission of power will take place mm-hmm. from the place of power generation to the utilization. Okay. And that takes time. Yeah. That could be 5 years, and then over the period, which can 10 years, it can take even more than that.
We have a first-hand user. Ashwini ji, you have installed 3 hydropower plants in India in different parts. So you can make our viewers understand that how you have done it, how it is done, and how electricity is generated from these power plants.
The hydropower projects are installed, big or small, in the has been installed in the entire country, right, mm-hmm. from the Jammu and Kashmir to Tamil Nadu. Mm-hmm. And to start with, because the water water resource is the property of the state government, so mm-hmm. we have to take permission from the state government. Okay. And once you got the permission for installation of a project, then you have to investigate that how much potential a particular site would have been, and that investigation took a little longer time, mm-hmm. because until you become sure about the potential, you cannot harness it, because these are long gestation projects. Mm-hmm. And number 2, the investments are also large. So one has to be very cautious about selecting the site and selecting the project. Now, coming back to the technology part, the technology available is very, very well known, robust, and being in use for the last 120 years. So technology is not an issue, but modernization is an issue. That lot of computerization and other software development has also taken place in this sector.
Okay. So, Arunji, one thing is like how electricity is generated, like you have made a plant, so what you do there, and but that particular site, what happens there?
When we have water from higher elevation to the lower elevation, then because of the potential available, because of the gravity will flow, and that flows through the turbine. And turbine, it churn out the wheel or turbine. The turbine is also a wheel. So that wheel is moving, and that wheel means that depending on that, how much is the head difference, what is the difference between higher elevation and lower elevation, and how much water is there. So both factors makes me that much power is available, and that power is transmitted from turbine to the generator.
Yes.
And the generator moves, we call it, and then that generator, when it moves, it gives the power, and then power is through the control panel and transformers. It goes to the grid and it reaches to us.
When electricity is generated, you're saying, Ashwini ji, you have power, you have hydroelectric power plants, right, and now the electricity is generated. Now here, how it reaches to the homes, to the houses, to the sites where it is needed?
The electricity generated from the project, from the hydro projects are stepped up to a particular level. So and it is transmitted to the big substations, from where it goes to the consumer. First we generate power, we step up to transformers, transmit it to short or long distances, then it came back to the houses through a transformer.
Achha.
And we get electricity at 415 or 220 volt for our
There is price
use.
for it? You have to pay a price?
Yes,
for this
we have
also?
to pay a price for the transmission of power from generator to the consumer.
Okay.
Because you have to install all lines.
And the consumers also pay?
Consumer has to pay. Otherwise, it will not make any business sense.
It will not be sustainable.
Yes,
We would talk about it. It was only in the late 19th century that hydropower became a source of generating electricity. The first hydroelectric power plant was built at Niagara Falls in 1879. After more than 140 years, there are issues of large submergence of land, destruction of forest, reduction in river flow, etc. We will discuss these aspects in detail after a short break. Welcome back. We are in discussion with our guest about hydropower. Till now, we have understood that to generate electricity, the water has to move with sufficient speed and volume to spin a propeller-like device called a turbine, which in turn rotates a generator to generate electricity. Now, Arunji, this electricity is generated. Now, how much is India's electricity needs are supplied by this hydroelectric power plant?
At the moment, India has got about 340 gigawatt of installed capacity of electricity. Out of that, 50 gigawatt is from hydro. But in terms of electricity, it's about 11%. But please understand that 11% is the most important electricity. The reason is that it is stored electricity through the dams. That means this electricity is like battery electricity. So I am using it as I need most at the peak hours. So this, even though it's 11% of electricity, but this is most important and most important electricity to the sector.
Okay. But these dams, construction of these dams, then submergence of the land, then clearing of forests, then displacement of people, there are certain issues that are, incorporated on this, in this aspect. There are certain aspects that are involved in this hydroelectric power plant installation thing. So how do you think, are these things right, and how do you judge it?
There are two types of hydroelectric power plants. One of them is called run of the river, in which we never stored any water. the river flow is utilized to generate electricity.
Okay.
The other is the storage type of power plants, just like
That's,
Bhakra or
RNG
Pongre,
storage.
where we store water and then it is passed through the turbine and it generates power. Now those projects which have large storage may have little bit of impact on the environment, and those require little land. Land is also a large patch of land is also inundated, and we have to lose sometimes some part of the forest also.
Okay.
But in the case of run of the river schemes, there is no environmental impact
as such.
on the hydro.
Like there are certain things now that greenhouse gases and pollution and all these things come up. So it is better than that. Those
No,
things.
greenhouse gas emissions are also are emitted from the dams because dams submerge the certain green area where the forest form. Although nowadays forests are cut before actually are submerged. But at the same time, if you look at the greenhouse gas emissions from others, it is very, very small size. You will be shocked to learn that even solar photovoltaic has greenhouse gas emissions as a life cycle.
Yes.
Those per se solar plates does not emit anything, but to make the solar cell, the electricity which is used is one which is used by using the thermal. And thermal has got, for example, 900 gram of carbon dioxide per kilowatt hour compared to solar 48, and hydro is only 18.
Okay.
So that way, if you look at the life cycle cost of hydropower, it is one of the lowest carbon
Emission.
footprint. But in terms of problem which Mr. Goyal has mentioned, that the large dams has got certain submergence, yes, there is a cost, no issue about it. But maybe some bad examples are there here and there, but there are a lot of good examples.
Like?
For, for example, the Sadar Dam in Gujarat today is one of the resettlement rehabilitation policies adopted by them, is one of the very attractive policy. It only depends upon the state's willingness, the government willingness, that whether they want to do it nicely or not. And now there are a lot of tools available where sustainability is the key factor to decide whether to go ahead or not.
Okay.
But by just simple assuming that all hydro is bad, for that matter, all hydro cannot be bad and all hydro cannot be good also.
Of course.
So there could be some
There are
bad
pros
cases.
and cons to
There are
everything.
some bad cases, but what has been being unfortunately in public perception has been that hydro is a bad boy, which is like a dam is a bad boy. But dam is not bad. Please understand the current agriculture productivity in India is not due to only the new seeds, not due to the farming practice. It is because you get the water available 365 days because of dams.
Because of the
We have rains only for 40 days in North India.
Okay.
But water is available for 365 days. From where that it comes? It comes because of the dams.
Yes.
In Central India, West India, Southern India, where the water is available only for 90 days and you're using for 365 days. So it is the only dam which gives you the electricity, water for this one.
But there are certain issues with
Yes.
dams. There are people protesting against these dams because river flow is stopped and areas are, not able to get proper watering and all that stuff comes.
In fact, water
These
flow
issues
improves
also.
upon. If you look at that, because
that.
in the floods we store, so we reduce the flood impacts.
Okay.
And during lean season, when there is hardly any water or no water, that time water is available. In fact, it is a better distribution of water through the dams.
Okay.
So, but only thing is, some bad cases are there, some kind of bad. Some people take an example of some other countries, even our own country, maybe one or two examples may be bad. Few examples can be bad, but they are methods of improving it all.
It is an issue of debate
Yes,
about the dams
debate,
and all,
yes.
no issues.
Yes.
We can balance it with some of the environmental benefits of hydropower, if you can list down some of them for our viewers.
Because you have the water available around the year from the stored hydropower projects. So that can be used for basically for the agriculture it is used, but for the water, for the drinking water as well as for the deforestation.
Okay.
So you can improve the bad land by putting water there and planting the forest. So it has a potential of that, but certainly something has to be done on that field.
At a cost. Arun ji, you wanted to add something?
Yes, I'd like to add, you see, for example, Haryana, Punjab, or Rajasthan, what was before Bhakra Dam came in and what is today? because though it is a hydroelectric project, though if people know Bhakra Dam is a hydroelectric project, but in terms of benefit, it's hydro is relatively less, but compare the irrigation of water availability, even Delhi drinks the water based on those things. So social benefits are, another social benefits are there.
Yeah.
The lot of jobs creations, because cost happens, civil works or those things, all the chain from the roadhead to the dam side, everybody get benefited. There is a money infused in the local economy. And then, so that money is never accused, like for example, a thermal power plant, a solar plant, it is manufactured somewhere else.
Okay.
But on the other hand, all money goes outside of the country even. Here, all the money goes inside the land itself where the power project is there. But of course, there are some suffering, but those suffering are to be minimized, mitigated. That's it.
No problem. There are certain specific designs for these hydroelectric plants. On different hydroelectric plants have different designs to be.
All these hydroelectric projects are site specific.
Okay.
So every project has a separate design. Though the norms are maybe the same, but every is to be designed depending on the the rock conditions, geographical area, the slope of the stream, the power to be generated, the inundation of the area. So a lot of input are required for design of a hydroelectric project.
New designs are also coming up at
cost-effective.
AHEC.
Cost-effective designs are being done basically to reduce the cost.
I read about grain grinding, something about the grain grinding thing that you people are working on, AHEC is?
No, we are actually working on even flow kinetic turbines nowadays.
Okay.
Some kinetic turbines, and we are also, I mean, whenever conventional designs, instead of conventional design, if we do design kind of which we can reduce the cost. For example, but those more applicable on the low, small size projects, not the big projects.
You talk about the grain grinding. What happened in the ancient time also, not long back, we have water mills, gharat, where the grains are grinded through this water energy. So a lot of grain grinding was done 70-80 years back through the water mills, gharat, which is called gharat here. But now it has reduced because we are now generating more power as compared to using it as a mechanical power, by which we use the
Arunji is smiling, something you want.
That's gharat. It's a very local thing, 5 kilowatt, 2 kilowatt. So it's, I mean, if you look at the entrepreneurship, even those people are giving it up because people are not very happy with the small input or output. People want, because they have to go down to the river. And the villages are up. So people now, since electricity is everywhere, so instead of who will waste the time to go for 1 hour down and come back, and then instead of that they use now electric generator right in their village, because electricity is available everywhere.
Yes,
though it's a good way, no doubt about it. Mr. Goyal mentioned that this is being used for many decades, centuries,
and it's used worldwide, not
used
here.
Worldwide.
Worldwide, yes.
Worldwide.
Great.
Yes.
There are issues like large submergence of land, destruction of forest, reduction in river flow, etc. We would discuss these aspects in detail after a short break. Welcome back. We are all set to discuss the hydropower further. Arunji, how do you see government intervention in these hydropower projects?
In most of the world, government support is required because water most of the time is government property, land is government property, especially in the remote areas. And further, since it's a people's disturbance or people intervention, government is required. But at the same time, nowadays there is a good tradition that stakeholders, the people who actually are sufferer or they get disturbed or they are affected, they also get involved in this through, they are supposed to get about 2% of, regularly they are supposed to get the benefits of in terms of electricity generated. Suppose you generate say 1 lakh units, so 2000 units of electricity will be available to those persons who are affected by the project. So that kind of one of the bigger intervention has been reduced in 98. And then there are supports in terms of various, because we have various type of lands, we have various type of acts. So government supports one way or other.
Another thing is the amount of electricity generated by hydropower plants versus other renewable sources. How do you see it?
Total amount, you mean to say the total amount of, because the installed capacity is much less than other sources of energy, say thermal power or wind power or solar power or nuclear power, then the total contribution of electricity generated from the hydro project is not large.
Okay.
It should have been large on account
But it
of
is
some
not.
certain issues, because the reason is that the implementation process is very long. It involves land, people, and everything is involved in these cases. So they take long time and long gestation period and large capital investment with a high risk. These projects, you can call them the high risk projects.
High risk.
So the bankers are also not very keen in funding these projects.
Yes. I'd like to make a little, when she talks about compared to renewable energy.
Yeah.
Other renewable energy project, this is one of the, I would like to say, in terms of electricity generation, if I'm not wrong, roughly 70% electricity comes from hydroelectricity out of the renewable energy sector.
Okay.
And also concentration wise, like utilization factor of a 1 megawatt unit of hydro is roughly 60%.
Okay.
50%. Compared to that, solar is say 18% only. So
Okay.
density wise, per megawatt of hydro gives 3 to 4 times compared to solar. Similarly, maybe 2 times of the wind. So if you talk about renewable energy, it is much ahead with any energy.
In the end, what kind of water bodies generate maximum hydropower? There is a preference in water bodies as well, rivers versus some lakes, or there are like some kind of ocean, seas,
Well,
whatever.
if I say yes, if I have a dam which is has got a larger storage and which will be in a flatter area, like for example Bhakra, Mahanadi, they are in a flatter area, so they give me the good storage. Sagar and this Narmada Sadar dam in this thing, so they are relatively flatter areas, so it has got a lot of storage, more storage. But if I am in a hilly areas where my storage is less, but then difference in the topography is very high, in terms of I have elevation difference, say 1000 meter, and that gives me the much more electricity. So that way both kind of things are available.
Okay. You have hydropower plants in hilly areas only. How do you say it?
We installed our 2 projects, one in 2005 and another is 2014, and they are generating power since then till date.
Okay.
The efficiency of these projects are very high, maybe around 99.5% efficiency of the projects, and they are generating around, say, utilization factor maybe around 65 to 70%.
Okay.
And the power is fed into the grid, and it supports because we are feeding power at the tail end of the grid. So it's strengthened the local area supply also. Say in the Manali area, once the supply is not there, we have to start our project first, so that it can supply power, and then people start connecting the load, and then we increase the capacity, the generation. So this is the most stable form of energy. As Mr. Arunji has told, that it's the most stable form of energy to start with.
Cheapest form, the oldest form of energy.
But the one thing is there, that the projects are installed in, say, Himalayan areas. They have a lot of risk regarding geology or flash floods in the rivers, where you can lose the generation, lose the project also. So there are some issues related to that also.
Yes, we have discussed all the issues, the pros and cons of hydro energy, hydropower plants that has been installed in various parts of India. So this was all about hydropower. That's all for now. I thank both the guests for joining us on the show. Thank you so much. Hope you all liked our show. Please send your views and suggestions. Till then, goodbye.